something that happened this week was I was getting I got a message from Andrea Gilbert, who's been on the show quite a few times as a member of Labour Black Socialist, but also does a lot of activity helping homeless people. And Andrea sent me a message on WhatsApp pointing out that there's been an 80% rise in deaths of homeless people in the past 2 years. And the number of homeless people who died last year was 1,286, which I couldn't get my head around. That has just blown me. I mean, I just don't know how on earth that can have happened. Andrea, can you tell us what it is that you do? You help homeless people in London. Can you tell us how you found out about this? And I'll introduce people that you've asked me to bring in.
Right, well, I work with homeless people. So basically, I am a shift leader with Crisis, and I'm also a community organizer with Shelter as well. And, you know, during the COVID pandemic, as you know, we got a lot of people into the hotels. So the government was saying that there was 6,000 people on the streets. In fact, there were 37,000 people that we actually brought into the hotels. Over 80% of them did stay in the hotels, but we had, you know, a small percentage that didn't make it in. Obviously, during COVID, it was hard for people to access services as well. So we're talking about GPs, health centres, drug and addiction places as well. So, of course, if they're not getting the support, then, you know, deaths are going to come if they're left outside, Crispin. You know what I mean? So, you know, it's the fact that services are not being funded, but also the engagement with homeless people is just not there as well. You've also got to take into account that some of these organisations are just literally pocketing the money and not really coming with, you know, policies or anything to support these people into housing. So the deaths will always going to rise because there's simply, homelessness is not prioritised in this country. It's just literally used as poverty porn during Christmas when you get, you know, get the charities out asking you to donate this and donate that. You know, it's just never been a priority. If you go to certain people's constituencies as well, you'll see the amount of homeless people that are on the streets begging for food, begging for money, you know, begging for assistance from anybody. So
which constituency would you say is the worst then?
From my point of view, and the ones that I've worked in, Camden is.
What, Keir Starmer's constituency?
Yeah, his is. Like, as soon as you get off the train, you've got people, you see people in sleeping bags, you see people begging, a lot of drug addiction up there as well. And when I was doing the streets kitchen during Christmas, so Crisis, where it was a day centre, wasn't taking people in. So normally the centre that I work in, we take in 300 people. But because it wasn't happening, those people were scattered across Camden, just trying to access anything. And the conversations that I was having with these people, they were telling me that they don't feel supported. They were telling me it was very hard for them to get into services. They didn't know where to go. The outreach teams are stretched up there as well. There's so many people up there. So yeah, it's an absolute shambles what's going on in his constituency, to be honest.
And you've asked me to invite Jess Turtle and Matt Turtle from the Museum of Homelessness. Now I'm just going to there you are, Jess. Thank you for joining us, Jess.
Hi, Crispin. Thanks for having me, and Andrea, thanks for the invitation and for all the support that you've given.
Could you give us
homelessness?
Could you tell us what you sort of found out this figure, didn't you? You were behind this, leaking this story as well. I saw it was in the Independent, but how many papers have covered it?
Well, the project we've taken on since the Bureau of Investigative Journalism basically founded it in 2017, and then we took it on in 2019. So it's an ongoing part of the museum's work to really remember people with love and dignity in our community, but also to use the findings of the project to fight for change. So every spring we release our findings for the year that's just gone, and it's normally covered by most of the nationals. We can usually get some broadcast as well, and we have been able to, you know, to raise awareness of the issue, I think, and pull together a coalition of people, Andrea included, who are willing to fight for change and to keep campaigning for change. But, you know, we're devastated to have to report these increases year on year. It's heartbreaking. Most of us know, you know, most of us know people. These are not just statistics. These are our friends, people's family members. And each stat is a human that had hopes and dreams and that has been let down by something that's broken.
And like people are saying in the chat here, you know, that the cost of living crisis is obviously going to leave more people facing the risk of homelessness. If there is not that support on the ground, then it's just going to be catastrophic, isn't it?
Yeah, we're really worried. Museum of Homelessness is part of the Homeless Task Force, which is grassroots groups based in London. Streets Kitchen, which Andrea, that's how I met Andrea. The Outside Project, which is LGBTIQ homeless shelter and domestic violence refuge and community centre. The Simon Community. And Tricky Period, small groups like that. We've been working frontline all the way through the pandemic, and everyone's just really, really concerned about the new cost of living crisis and the further challenges that everyone faces, like after already 10 years of austerity, then the pandemic, and now we have this next level of challenges to face for the community. So, you know, it is, yeah, it's a really...
So as people talk about heating or eating, but I mean, it is also about having a roof over your head is the other bit, isn't it? I mean, they're not saying that there's a threat of homelessness. That doesn't seem to have got through, does it?
I think that, no, basically that hasn't come through yet, but it will, you know, I think it will start to filter through when we see the direct impact. The thing is, the government's policy, we say, is myopic, right? It's just really focused on the wrong thing, really. All of the policy is around rough sleeping. Now, our belief is because that is the most visible form of homelessness and is like the most embarrassing for the government and for councils. So the aim is to get people off the streets at any cost, right? But what is actually happening in the Dying Homeless Project, our findings clearly show that what's happening is people are dying when they come indoors. So we've got a system where people are safer on the street. Some of our community members will say, and like Andrea said, she's worked frontline. She knows, like, people are not necessarily safer when they come into hostels, when they come into accommodation. 60% of the deaths where we know were in emergency or temporary accommodation, 5% were rough sleeping, and then, you know, the rest of it was unknown within the data. So, you know, it's quite a significant, it's a significant problem way beyond rough sleeping. And that's what we want policy to change and to address, the fact that the hostels are broken, the charities aren't doing a good enough job, and we need to take care of our communities better. And
you'd say, but that both the main parties are not addressing this.
I mean, we're a charity, so I'm just going to be really careful what I say, particularly as we're up to elections. But what I would say is, in our work, we regularly, daily, weekly, challenge central government policy and challenge councils as well, whether they are Labour or Tory run councils. So this is like a system-wide failing of decades, but particularly has sharpened since 2010. And we, you know, I think we can all hold ourselves accountable. All of us can do something about this and take action, and we've got to stop this upward trend of our, you know, poorest members of our community just dying preventable deaths.